Hey everybody, welcome back to the Senators Roundtable. I'm your host Jacob Billington, joined by my lovely festive co-host Paul Quinney, and as well as Dayton Reimer. It's a little less festive, but it's okay. Um,
Well, we're recording before a game today, so
Good enough. Um, Paul, I love the new background. How you doing?
I'm great. And for my grandkids, I'm thinking of wearing these antlers for the show, but I think it would violate THW policy on these things. So I thought,
How you doing, Dayton?
I'm good. Yeah, no, getting ready for Christmas. Can't come soon enough.
Good.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so
How are
we
you,
are.
Jacob? We never asked you.
I'm
yeah,
fantastic. Thank you for asking. I'm very ready for Christmas. I got a Santa suit that I've been wearing around. I tried to dye my beard white. Obviously, didn't work very well. Um, yeah, so I ended up just getting one of those fake beards to cover it up while I'm out. But yeah, thank you for asking. We finally get to have this conversation about DJ Smith and him and the Ottawa Senators parting ways. So, for those of you who are living under a rock, DJ Smith was fired by the organization, and Jacques Martin was named the interim coach. He was senior advisor to the coaching staff, and now Daniel Alfredsson is on the bench in place of David Davis Payne. So, some great moves. Obviously, I don't think you could bring in two better guys for the job right now. Ottawa already made their decision by bringing in Martin and Alfredsson. I have my thoughts, but I just kind of want to get your initial thoughts. So we'll start with you on this one, Dayton.
Initial thoughts. I think a lot of my thoughts were reflected in something that Ian Mendez put out in The Athletic either today or yesterday. He is a very good guy. Everybody loves DJ Smith, and that's so clear among the players.
Yeah,
They had nothing good to say, or not. They had nothing but good things to say about him,
yeah,
and yeah, it just seems like a really classy guy when talking about interviews and talking about working with people in the organization, and had a lot of really good lines of communication. And yeah, like overall, a really stand-up person. It just had to happen though.
yeah,
This was a long time coming. The results had not been there. It's been 4 years. And sure, some of that has been rebuilding years. And so you
yeah,
expect losing seasons. But this year, that was a that changed. This
yeah,
wasn't a rebuilding year. This was a competing year, and it still looks like a rebuilding year.
yeah.
Something needed to change, and usually that is the coach.
Yeah.
So it's
I,
yeah.
I was totally fine with him coming in. A lot of people wanted him gone in the summer. I was totally fine with him coming back this year because this is the first year this was a team ready for playoffs. And obviously, he's shown that he can't take this team there. Like last year, you could say that they could should have made the playoffs, but they were 6 point out. They were 6 points out. There was a lot of issues, people still developing, so it was understandable. Next year wasn't like a playoffs or bust year like it is this year. And so yeah, give him a shot with a real roster, and they gave him a shot, and he did not succeed with it. So 100%. It
Following up just on that comment of giving him a real roster, did he ever really have one? Injuries and suspensions have kind of ruined any
Yeah.
sort of chance he had at putting together a real roster, but you can't keep using that as an excuse. I also, agree. But
Yeah, no, like you're 100% right that there were issues, but every coach has issues. On paper, the 23-man roster that this team should have had in September, that's or sorry, in October, that's your team. You got to deal with the stuff that comes after. Obviously, Shabbat only having 9 games so far, and the Shane Pinto suspension, those aren't ideal. But do you think that that would be an excuse if Tampa was missing, I don't know, Mikhail Sergachev and Anthony Sorelli? Do you think that they would be like, oh, well, there's a couple issues here, but it's okay that we have a terrible season?
it's an interesting comparison, and I think it's a good comparison because Tampa is a team that built itself well,
Yeah.
and it really comes down to what Dorian has done.
Yeah.
Dorian set this team up to fail. He signed guys to usually pretty decent contracts, but also other guys to really, really bad contracts.
Yeah.
And they couldn't make a team that had both high-end skill and competent depth.
Yeah.
Tampa had more guys buying into the system, so you can get a few more guys, on cheaper deals.
Yeah.
Comparatively, right? You still have really, really big contracts over there. But then you have guys who are just coming out of the woodwork and competing from those bottom 6 lines. Like, I've immediately forgotten his name. He was traded to Nashville for an exorbitant amount.
Oh, Tanner Jeannot.
Tanner Jeannot. Thank you. Yeah, like that wasn't supposed to be a star player,
Yeah.
but he was, because they scouted well and they developed well. And
Yeah.
I don't think overall the Senators have done that, on top of not building a total team. Good top end, really good top end.
Yeah.
The rest of it has a lot of question marks. And that's Dorian's fault. Not Smith's fault, but somebody's got to take the fall. Dorian already did.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul, back to the original question. What are your initial thoughts of the firing and the replacement?
Yeah, I was a bit sad. I felt badly. DJ's a good guy, class act. Bruce Kiriak interviewed him, called him, and DJ took the call just after he'd been fired, and he was nothing but pure class in that interview. I kind of agree with Dayton. He was handed a lousy hand here. You can make excuses all you want. I go to the players. I'm in Ottawa, and in the bubble here, and you hear Ottawa fans talk about what a wonderful team they have, such talent. But you know what? Those guys. I'd lay a lot of responsibility for his firing on the players themselves. I mean, they can talk about, oh, we love DJ and we want to play for him, but what did you do on the ice? I took a look at some stats, basic stats like goals, assists, points, plus minus, before we went to record this, and there isn't a Senator in the top 20. So I'm still scratching my head about the wonderful talent the team has. You know who was in the top 20? Brady Tkachuk.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Matthew Joseph and plus
Now,
minus.
he was there, but you know who was number 1 in the league? Brady Tkachuk. Guess in what category?
Penalty minutes.
Penalty minutes.
Oh, I was going to
guess. This is your captain. So, their special teams are horrible. They going into Vegas, they had some reasonable goals for, suggesting they've got good offense, like Dayton was saying, but then the penalty kill is terrible.
Yeah.
You can say, oh, well, it's the systems. The DJ didn't coach them well with the systems, but you know what? In my opinion, a good hockey team with good players, they can get past bad coaching. They just can figure out a way to win. And look, I get it. You had to do something here. If you're Staios or Andlauer, you got to fire someone. Yeah. Smith's position was untenable. But what I'm going to look for very closely is I'm going to watch these next 10 games with Martin and Alfredsson at the helm. Yeah. And I want to see, okay, you've changed the coach. Now, how much better are these guys with new coaching? Here's a prediction. I don't think they're going to be that much better. They're just not a good hockey team.
Fair enough.
I'll throw in one counter here for you, Paul.
Okay.
You mentioned that professional hockey players shouldn't need to coach themselves, or like they can coach themselves. I forget exactly how you worded it, but
yeah. Well, they can get past bad coaching. They
exactly
can win. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think is generally true. The most talented players will be the most talented players. Like, you can't hide skill. The one issue I have with Smith's systems is the goaltending.
Yeah.
Right? We've seen several Senators goalies go on to find a lot of success elsewhere. And The only thing I can think of is that they are playing in different systems.
Yeah.
That to me shows that there was a coaching issue here in Ottawa. I say here, sitting in Saskatoon. Yeah, like if it was just one or two guys, then sure, it's an anomaly. Like that just happens. But it's pretty much every goalie that has left within the last 4 years has found much more success going on into other systems. And I think the only one that you would say hasn't would be Matt Murray, who's been struggling with injuries since he came to Ottawa.
Yeah,
So,
I'm just trying to think of the goalies that did play under him. So it was Mike Condon would have played under DJ Smith, I believe. Anders Nilsson, I think. Craig Anderson, and then Philip Gustafson, Cam Talbot, Matt Murray, and then the two we have now. Is there any that I'm missing?
that sounds about right. I don't have a list in front of me, but
I don't have it up. But
Full-time twine miners, not the 7 that we saw.
Yeah, not Magnus Hellberg. Yeah. But yeah, you look at those guys. Philip Gustafson, if he played 15 more games last year, probably would have won the Vezina or second place to Linus Ullmark. Cam Talbot's doing fantastic in LA. These things, it really sucks. But look at Jonathan Quick. He got kicked out of LA because he wasn't good. He is, I would say, the greatest goalie in LA Kings history, and he got kicked out of town because he wasn't playing good. Right decision by LA at the time. Now look at him. He took the crease from Igor Shesterkin, and he's like a Vezina favorite right now. So it happens. It happens a lot with the Ottawa Senators, and that's just like systemic, even past DJ Smith. Because then you look at Robin Leonard, Ben Bishop, like Ottawa got rid of them, and look at the careers they had. It happens, but no, you are right, Dayton. Like in recent memory, they're moving on and playing significantly better than when they were in the Senator system. And while we're talking about goaltending, I do want to say that I think goaltending is a bigger problem than the defense right now. So I had a little bit of a conversation. I believe it was under a thread Trevor Shackles started, and he just asked like, where's the issue? And he just brought up the conversation, and I did some stat looking, and Ottawa's expected goals against ranks, and this is when I checked it, so it might be a little bit different now, but their expected goals against per 60 minutes was ranked 14th in the league. So they had the 14th least amount of goals expected against, and their actual goals against per 60 is right near the bottom. They have two of the worst goalies in the league. So yes, better defensive systems will help, but the goaltending needs to be significantly better, and that's not on DJ Smith. That's on Zach Burke. Well, that's on the goaltenders and Zach Burke, and I'm a little bit surprised Zach Burke is sticking around.
Yeah, now that you put it that way, how did he survive, right? I mean, because that is a huge hole with the Senators. They're arguably, one of the worst goaltending duos in the league. I think they're what are they?
I think they are statistically the worst.
Are they the worst?
They're Forsberg and Korpisalo. I think they're out of the 79 goalies that have played so far. I think they're like 54th and 70th in save percentage. So not good.
Yeah.
One other point that I wanted to make is that the assistant coach that was fired was somebody who tended to the forwards and the power play, which is the role that Daniel Alfredsson has taken now. Jack Capuano, as well as Zach Burke, who I just mentioned, both of them are sticking around, who take care of the defense and the goaltending. So I found that a bit surprising. Now, you can't wipe out your entire coaching staff in December. What was it? December 18th, he got fired. You can't just wipe out your whole staff. But I'm surprised that those two survived the clearing. I just wanted to see if either of you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because what the penalty kill is something like 28th in the league now at 70.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but I don't doubt you at all. I believe you.
That's actually an improvement because before they went into Vegas, they were something like the 31st in the league. So you do kind of wonder how they survive because, if you had to point to the bigger problem, the offense you can live with. It's respectable, but it's the defense that the penalty kill is part of that's the problem.
Dayton, anything you wanted to add there?
Yeah, I think this new ownership group is still kind of like they've kind of got their hands tied.
Yeah.
They don't have a general manager. Now, of course, yes, there's Steve Staios is there and he is the acting general manager, but he's acting, right? Jacob, you're a teacher. And so I'm sure that you've had acting vice principals and principals in your buildings before.
Yep.
Yeah, they don't do a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Right. They are there filling in and sure, yeah, well, they are the person you go to, but until that they have that kind of stamp or that chunk removed, they don't really have full authority. I think that's, a nice way to sum it up badly.
What if I don't know how your school system is structured, but what if it was the head of your school board that was coming in to be acting principal?
Ooh, yeah, that'd be weird.
Because then you have Staios, who is in this scenario the head of the school board, coming down to be the principal of the school. So it's not like you just have Joe Schmo coming in. I think he's fully capable of making a decision. Sure, it would be nice to have a full-time principal who wants the custodians that they want, but it's not like he's not qualified to make that decision.
No, I'm not saying anything about his qualifications. He 100% is qualified, but he's not the final answer. They're going to bring someone else in.
Right.
Like I would say 90% chance that they're getting someone else to serve as a general manager. They're going to want their own guys. When a new general manager comes in, I think finally the Senators will have like some urgency to them because there'll be a guy who comes in and it's like, okay, these are my guys. This is who I'm going to bring in. Right now, the Senators are just kind of doing it backwards.
Yeah.
They're hiring guys in kind of advisor roles.
Yeah.
The people they're supposed to advise are not performing, so they have to get rid of them. And now they're in a situation where they're just going to have all their own guys anyways for Andlauer.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe just kind of go with it, but they still seem to be really hesitant to mess with this system, but the system has to change. That desperately needs to change.
Yeah.
So on one hand, I understand why Andlauer and Staios are sort of maybe it seems like they're dragging their feet, right? They don't want to make any big changes that are just going to be changed later because they bring in, a new guy to run the show.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, they are bringing in guys that are going to work with them to run the show. So just get it. You're going to have guys who are going to be working together anyways. And it seems like they're all grabbing, people that they've worked with before. So just do it. Like I don't know. I'm running out of ways to say like stop stalling.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. Stop stalling. I have a couple quotes that I want to run through. So this was from Elliot Friedman right before the firing actually happened on 32 Thoughts. He said that they, as in Andlauer, Staios, and Ryan Bonus, they are really, really trying to hold things off. They have told people they're trying to get to know everybody and everything about the organization before they make any decisions. And then Elliot Friedman followed up and said it's tough. They're really trying not to make a coaching change before they're ready, but it's got to be tough for them right now. They have a vision and things just are not going well. And that completely sums everything up. It 100% makes sense that you want to, again, I'll use the school analogy. You want to get to know your teachers before you fire them, right? Like you want to make sure that, sure, in the past you haven't been a great teacher, but I know that you went to this awesome school. You know how to teach. Let's see if you can do it here while I'm principal supporting you. Sure, that's fair. A couple other quotes that come out today, mostly from Jacques Martin that I want to talk about a little bit. I just got to scroll down and find them. I'm sorry. So in a media conference today, he said that he likes the speed and the skill of the team, and they're going to work on the game management. That's something 100%. You got to get Brady Tkachuk not fighting as much, not taking as many penalties, and looking at guys like Mark Kastelik, who came back, took a terrible penalty already. Just mostly that game discipline is what he's focusing on, I believe. And he followed that up by saying, I don't think we have to change the system. The players are comfortable with it, but we have to take care of the little details. I wanted to get both of your thoughts on that. So, Paul, do you want to start us off?
I guess the only question I could ask is, what system?
I was going to say the same thing.
What system? There's no discernible system. When I watch them play, so I have no idea what the hell he's talking about when he talks about systems. Yeah. I'd be happy if they just weren't making mistakes that even peewees don't make. Yeah. The blind passes. I'm watching Batherson. Resulted in a goal. Yeah. He's skating up the ice, gets just before the red line and tosses the puck in and gets an icing call. Yeah. All you had to do was take a couple of strides. It's that, what are you guys thinking about? And then the line change, leaving Hamonic and that's nothing to do with the system. That's just
that's the game management he was talking about, I think. Just those small details.
Yeah. So I don't know. System, I'd be happy if they just went back to basics, right? Yeah. Like they teach you in Bantam hockey when you're 14. Just do that. Yeah.
What about you, Dayton?
I think Martin is correct in saying that you don't have to change the system. I think the system is good, but it's not being employed effectively. And that is why we keep seeing goaltenders hung out to dry. That's why we keep seeing defensemen not defend, players not, hustle back and just make lazy calls and stupid penalties. The system in place is probably a good system. We just haven't seen it because nobody's really enforced it. So Martin coming in is going to bring in some accountability. And I'm sure we all remember the last time Martin was the coach, right? He was a guy who you had to be accountable for.
Yep.
Right? He was someone that if you weren't doing well, no matter who you were, you got benched.
Yep.
Right? Young star Jason Spezza gets benched because he's not defending. He's not doing his job. And I think we haven't seen that, right? Smith is a nice guy, but maybe a little bit too nice because he had his favorites, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. We've already seen Parker Kelly play way more games than he should this season.
Yep.
Mark Kastelik hasn't been the same guy that he was before. Even Brady Tkachuk is making stupid plays and penalties and arguably needs to sit for a second, even though he's the captain, right?
Yep.
These are still young kids who need to be shown hey, follow up your good play with good defense.
Yep.
Right? You make a great offensive play. Awesome. Follow it up, get back, hustle. And we just haven't seen that, especially in these second periods. They just fall apart and give up, it seems.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would expect Martin to come in and just really try to iron out those small details, like he said. And when you have so many small details that need ironing out, it looks big. Looks like there isn't a system. But I think there is, and they'll get back to it.
But, I like your point, Dayton, on him, DJ. There were a lot of players that they should have had their hockey pants stapled to the bench, and you never saw that. No one sat out.
No.
No accountability. I remember, I hate to raise his name, reading a piece an interview with Babcock and not long ago, and he made the observation that players are mostly concerned about the ice time they get. They think I, as the coach, decide what ice time they get. It's actually they decide, but and how well they play. And that's a tool that for whatever reason, Smith did not avail himself of, is just you're benched. You're not going out. You know, someone from the fourth line is going to get more time. And, you know, he never availed himself of that opportunity. I don't know, too nice a guy. I kind of laughed, when I read Garriock's piece, the morning before he got fired. You know, they're in Tempe, Arizona, and Smith described what they were doing at practice as just a fun practice.
Yeah, and getting fired after running your own practice that day and then calling it fun. I think calling it fun and a laid back practice was the final straw. Because why else are you going to let him coach or like run practice that morning?
These guys need to be
like
bags. You know, I mean,
right. But anybody can go out there and do that. Michael Andlauer can go out there in his dress shoes and say, "All right, skate back and forth, guys." Like, I think what Martin is going to bring in is accountability and motivation, and that's the two biggest things, right? And that's what this team needs. I got one more quote. We don't have a ton of time left. That we're just going to keep this episode short today, and I do have a little game that'll take just a couple minutes. But yeah, the last quote that I want to mention is that Brady Tkachuk said, "We know these things start with the coach, but if things don't get better, players are next. We want to keep this group together." 100%. Players are absolutely next. Now, I don't expect Tim Stützle to get traded tomorrow if they lose tonight against Arizona, but like he's 100% right. Changes are going to be made on the roster. It's the only thing left to do.
That's why I wrote that piece about exploring the options for trading Batherson.
Yep.
Right? Coach comes first, and then he goes. And if it's still not changing, you have to explore those tough questions and tough options. Yep. So, like, if things do not change, it has to, something else has to be messed with.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you protect you've got a core there, and then everything else is in play. The core, in my view, would be the Chuck, Stützle, Norris, Batherson. I know you don't agree with me on that one, Dayton. Chabot, as much as it pains me to say that, and Sanderson. Everybody else, hey.
Those are the guys that you got to keep around. Like, you could certainly make an argument for trading Chabot, Norris, or Batherson right now, but you're right, Paul. Those are the guys that you got to keep around right now.
But I think you got like a core and then a supporting core, right? You get your core is Captain Tkachuk, Stützle, Sanderson. That's it.
Yeah,
those are the guys you cannot trade. Yeah. Supporting guys, you got Norris, you got Batherson, you got Chabot.
Yeah.
Even maybe Chychrun is kind of like one of those top supporting guys.
Yeah.
You don't want to trade them, right? They are really, really useful. And if you trade them, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
But you might have to. And those guys would send a very big message throughout the organization.
So Dayton, I would take those four guys you identified there, and if I just surround them with Ridley Greggs,
sure,
I'd be fine with that if you got 9 more of them.
Yeah, that's what they got to do. So,
all right, to close out this show, I have a list of names, and this is going to be a reference to Stephen A. Smith's game, who he played for. Now, this is played in basketball. Or this is played when he's talking about the NBA. But it's been going around the internet lately. I've been seeing it all over the TikTok and YouTube and some other shows. So figured it'd be fun to play. These are some names that I had to dig a little bit deep for, but all of these guys have played this season. So I'm asking what team they play for this season. And all of them have, I believe, 10 games played. Okay. If you get any of these right, I'll be very impressed because I'm very proud of my hockey knowledge. I don't know if I knew 2 of these, and I have 5 names here. First one, and you just got to tell me the team. You can just throw out your guess right away. Braden Pachal or Patchell, Pachal, and these are all defensemen.
Ooh. Okay, so I've heard of him. Oh, shoot. East or West?
West.
He's not the Flames, is he?
Nope. Paul, you got a guess?
Columbus Blue Jackets.
Vegas.
Oh, I was just thinking that after I said it. Was
uh,
it? Okay.
Spencer Stastny.
Spencer Stastny?
Yeah,
Isn't he Nashville?
he is Nashville. There you go, Dayton. That is one of the two that I knew.
Okay.
John Ludwig.
Oh, Ludwig. Um, Blue Jackets.
Paul, you got a guess?
Anaheim Ducks.
Pittsburgh Penguins. You got the right species of animal. That's good. That's half a point. I'm gonna save this one for last. I'm gonna go. I'll do Caleb Jones next. So that's a very household name that you should both
Yeah.
know. What team is he on?
Well, he was on Chicago,
He was.
and he got
He got traded in the offseason, right at the very
yeah.
end, right before training camp.
I oof. Carolina?
Paul, you got a guess?
Caleb Jones. I mean, I'm cheating here. I've got him down as a artist, songwriter, and musician based out of Nashville. Predators? I don't know.
I like the rationale.
Caleb Jones. Yeah.
He is a member of the Colorado Avalanche.
Mm.
And last one, Hardy Haman Akhtel.
Hardy Hamon Ektel?
Yep.
10 games, eh?
I think so.
Well, you got a 1 in 32 chance here, Dayton.
I
He's got six.
know.
He's got 6.
Okay, a little bit under. See, my brain is just thinking Nick Abe-Kubel, because it's another 3-piece name. So I'm gonna say Philly.
Oh, Dayton, you were right there.
No, what was it?
Washington, where Obey
Oh,
yeah,
you psyched me out. I thought you meant I did.
right there. Now, real quick before I close out this episode, I did this with Jacob Strozik on the Fantasy Forecheck after the episode, and he said that sounds like a really Washington Capital name because of guys like Nicholas Obey-Kubel. And he said Washington, and he got it. And I was like, the way people's brain works amazes me. And Dayton, you're right there. Oh,
Yeah. Well, he started in Philly, so that's what I went with.
he did. I would have been so happy if you got that. Yeah, that's gonna wrap things up for today. We talked a lot about coaching, and that was kind of all there is to talk about right now. Kept this one a little bit shorter, so thank you all for watching. We really appreciate your time. Tune in next week. No, don't tune in next week because we're not going to have an episode next week. We will be after the Christmas break. We'll be back. So keep an eye on the Twitter account, and we'll let you know when the next episode is coming out. Paul, Dayton, thank you very much for joining me, and have a great night, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.